Hughes of Vivation.
This is like one of the most important parts of Vivation, which is that anytime we're having a negative experience, it's never the feeling itself. It's always our resistance to the feeling. When we can relax in the presence of the feeling, surrender in the presence of the feeling, just be with it in an unconditional way, what we experience is the intrinsic, internal, just joy that's actually there in every feeling. We keep inhaling through the feeling. It's like we want to be open to the possibility that the feeling is more enjoyable than we think it is. Be open to the possibility.
Take a breath.
That's what I always do. We take a few breaths.
How do you do it?
So what we teach is circular breathing. So it's really relaxing. In fact, if I only were to show people just that, it's nice. So the first thing is you just close your eyes for a second and just take a nice full breath. Now on the exhale, just let it go. Total relaxation. So as the exhale comes out, literally just like there's no control. It's just. So, I did a lot of yoga like yourself for years. And so, there's like the 4 in, 4 out. With Vivation, we want to take that full inhale in as much as you want. But just really say, and then.
Is it better to breathe through your mouth?
You can do either mouth breathing or nose breathing. So circular breathing has 3 qualities. The first is that there are no pauses between the inhales or the exhales. So that's why they call it conscious connected breathing. That's one of the old terms for it. The second is the exhale is completely relaxed. It's not controlled. That means it's not slowed down or like forced out. It's just same
like
as if your hands
sigh.
You could initially, it's nice to sigh, but at some point you just, okay. And then lastly, you can breathe either in and out through your nose or in and out through your mouth. We like to either do one or the other at any time. And during a typical session, people are free to play with it. They can move from nose breathing to mouth breathing at any time they want. They can change the volume and speed of their breath at any time they want, because it's the feelings, it's the felt sense of the body, it's the body itself that is actually leading the session. People say, well, how do I know that I'm doing it right? Does it feel good? Because if it feels good, your body's saying, yes, this is it. Keep doing that. It doesn't feel good. Try changing it up.
Okay.
And so this is the idea is you're learning how to breathe in relationship to the feeling. And the whole idea of the breath really is to not only to enhance awareness of the body. So it's kind of like a contrast agent. Good example. Had a hard day at work. We're stressed. We don't necessarily know it because we've been kind of stressed all day. You come home. One of the housemates says, "Hey, Paul, I know your shoulders are all straight." Oh, and then once I lay, I'm like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. It works exactly the same way in this process. We're using the breath to enhance and expand awareness of the body. And what happens is, like a contrast agent, we start to become more aware in a really visceral way. Oh, there's the part of my body that's like kind of like knotted up, or the part of my felt sense is knotted up. Oh, this part's relaxed. And so what we're doing is we're becoming aware of that and continuing allowing ourselves to relax those inner parts of ourselves. So we're letting go of resistance, letting go of our struggle around the feelings. So the breath is really a key element. It's the first of 5 elements of Vivation. So we're using the breath to not only become aware of the feelings, the exhale allows us to relax around the feelings, and we're breathing with the feeling.
I've been looking at your stuff, but I think we'll just, that was a great introduction. I'm here with Paul Hughes of Vivation Breathwork. Is there more to the title? Is it
just Vivation?
Just Vivation.
For a long, long time, because now breathwork's the big all catch-all. You can thank Wim Hof for that.
Right.
And James Nestor is another one who wrote a popular book recently called Breathe.
Right.
So, it is breathwork in the sense that, if you come into a room with people vibing, you're going to see a lot of breathing going on. But it's really only a small part of it. It's the foundational stack of the whole process. And for like 15 years, Jim Leonard, who is the father and creator of Vivation, didn't call it breathwork because it's so much more.
I saw that was 1979.
That's right. That's when he had his first big integration entirely at the feeling level which is really powerful because up to that point in time, a lot of the people that were doing breath work, which is pretty much rebirthing, that was the sort of standard popular breath work that was starting to become popular in the late 70s. There was a lot of, okay, we're going to do the breathing stuff, but I want you to visualize your birth. And there's a lot of mental and cognitive visualization exercises and those kinds of things. And what Jim had is he had the spontaneous experience in July of 1979 where he just totally surrendered to his experience without trying to figure it out, without even knowing what the heck was going on. He didn't know what was there. So he's like, okay, I'm breathing. He let it go. He was feeling and finally enjoying. So he kind of like, oh, there's 4 elements here. So, oh, wow, there's 4 elements and only 4 elements required to efficiently, rapidly resolve these negative emotions that he was having. And then a few weeks later, he goes, oh, wait, I need willingness too. I have to be willing to feel the feeling. I have to be willing to breathe and so on. So this process was sort of birthed that moment. And he always compared it to like alchemy or chemistry, where you're distilling down, almost like essential oil. He distilled down everything down and said, if it's not absolutely required, if it's something that's like a trapping or something that gets in the way of efficiency, of integration, of healing, he would get rid of it. And he distilled it right down to exactly what was needed to have that efficient, quick resolution of negative emotions and feelings, and nothing else. So he distilled it down to these 5 elements. First one is circular breathing, which we just talked about. The second one is complete relaxation, which I kind of talked about already. It's about total surrender. There's a great book by David Hawkins called Letting Go, which talks about this in a really broad sense.
Hawkins
great
fan.
book, yeah, great book. So that's the second element. It's all about surrendering and letting go, not fighting, not resisting, not fighting what's coming up. And then I'll mention this in a minute, but then the third element is feeling. We're just staying present with the felt sense of the body. We let go of the story of our mind. We just bring our awareness into the feelings, because it turns out the feelings actually aren't that bad. It's our mind that's causing the problem. So it's awareness in detail, third element. And then the fourth element of vibration, kind of a fancy term, but it's integration into ecstasy.
Nice.
What he means by that is that when we finally surrender and allow the body and the feeling to just come and go, it automatically integrates, that is, resolves into joy. And this is the key. This is like one of the most important parts of vibration, which is that anytime we're having a negative experience, it's never the feeling itself. It's always our resistance to the feeling. When we can relax in the presence of the feeling, surrender in the presence of the feeling, and just be with it in an unconditional way, what we experience is the intrinsic, internal, just joy that's actually there in every feeling. People sometimes have a hard time with that. Like, well, and I said, well, I'll use a simple example. We probably saw me in an interview where I talked about this, where there's a person on the roller coaster, right? And they're like, I can't believe I'm on this roller coaster. My husband or my wife or my best friend or whoever, best friend, forced me on this darn thing, and I'm going to ride it through. And you can see they're like this. And you see this guy, he's like totally terrified. He's sweating and he's fighting it, right? And so he's resisting this energy, this experience. His body is having a natural, energetic, felt response to this experience, anticipation. Now the roller coaster's going up. He's getting more scared. He can't breathe. You can see he's turning blue. The roller coaster goes down. His face is filled with horror. And then eventually what happens is there's so much turning. At some point, he's got to breathe. Takes a big breath. And then all of a sudden, there's something shakes loose. He had to feel it. And then all of a sudden, his hands go up and he's like, wow, this is the most amazing experience ever. What shifted? Well, he did. The experience was the same. The energy was the same. The roller coaster was the same. All the adrenaline, endorphins, all that stuff was getting kicked up from the experience. But he finally just embraced it. He let go of fighting. So the second element of just surrendering in the presence of our experience is so important. So with the fourth element, integration into ecstasy, the way that looks in the session is we are like, okay, I have a feeling coming up. Oh, this doesn't feel good at all. Relax. Oh, it still doesn't feel good. I don't even want to feel this thing. It feels so bad. But keep inhaling through the feeling. It's like we want to be open to the possibility that the feeling is more enjoyable than we think it is. Be open to the possibility. One of the things I'll tell people in a session is even if the feeling doesn't seem pleasurable, open up to it as though it were. So there's these sort of reframes that are going on. And the reason for that is because, as I mentioned, the feeling is actually enjoyable. So it's all about just remembering that, reminding yourself of that, being open-minded to the possibility that this feeling that I'm having, this present moment experience, is actually enjoyable to some extent. And it happens every time. This is how it happens. We're like, ah, and then we let it go, and then we have this huge healing, and it feels really good. Our body gets blissed, and we feel this joy, and we might laugh or cry or whatever. So those are the 5 elements of vibration.
Wow. That is that is so cool. I love all of it. And isn't there a part that you do in your vivation experience of the hot and cold water?
Yeah, so once their process, their practice becomes efficient, and what I mean by efficient is that whatever feeling or sensation or experience is coming up for them in that moment, they're able to, within a minute or two, able to let it go and resolve it and get to a place of joy. And this happens. This is our whole program is we're like, that's literally what I'm all about. Is the moment a person comes in off the street, my goal is to get them up to that level of efficiency and autonomy. That means that they now that when feelings start coming up for them, they're able to quickly relax and let go and surrender and enjoy it. Once they got that up to about a minute or two, then I put them into a much more stimulating environment of warm and cold water. We usually start with warm first, 98 to 102 degrees, which Thermopolis is great for that.
Yeah.
And we usually do it face down with a snorkel. If they don't
Oh,
want to do that, we have them lay on their back. If they don't want to do that, I have them sitting up. But the warm water at that temperature is very stimulating. Activating is what we call it. It tends to stimulate, activate, bring up early sort of wounding.
oh,
Child,
yeah.
like we're talking pre-verbal, perinatal, that is the types of trauma and stuff that we go through during birth, and postnatal, the sort of stuff that happens after. With warm water, people are able to really, and they don't even know it. You just feel start sensations. It might feel like you're suffocating, or you might have other experiences, but that you just keep breathing through it. And you let it go, and then and it can be very powerful. So with warm water, for my instance, my very first warm water session, I was in the water for about 45 minutes, and nothing remarkable came up. I don't remember any like stuff coming up in my mind. It was just mostly sensation. Some of it was really constrictive and tight. I kept breathing through that, and then they told me you should probably get out and get some water. So I got up, went to the restroom, got some water, and as I was walking there, I was like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how I felt. It was, and this is always so hard to describe, but basically what happened was, for the first time in my life, I felt no pain that I had felt. And I didn't know that I had the pain because I had the pain since I was born. So
Like
for me,
emotional pain?
yeah, essentially physical, emotional, psychic pain. But because that pain had been there since the time I was born, I just assumed it was just existence. And I just kind of, it was like background noise, kind of like you fall asleep in a long car ride, you don't notice the road noise until the car stops, and then the silence wakes you up. It was like that.
Oh,
In other words, there was this pain that I had my entire life that I just assumed was just the way existence is. And so I didn't even know that I was in pain. It just, life was life was life. And then when that birth trauma was resolved, it was as if that road noise had stopped. And it was as if the world had changed, not me. It felt like the whole
oh,
world got
wow.
brighter. The colors got brighter. Everything sounded better. My smell got better. I felt better. I felt more grounded, and I felt safe in my body for the first time in my life in a way
Wow.
that I'd never felt. And when we got back into sharing circle and I said that, Jim Leonard, he's like, wow, you just healed not necessarily all of your birth trauma, but you definitely healed a good chunk of it. That's how you know. And I was like, wow, okay.
So was that on
Some
your first?
my first warm water session, this was a few days into the training.
And so
So I do this with every group that I work with now.
I love that. And I love that you have Thermopolis.
That's fantastic.
It's such a healing area. I just love the warm waters there and the colors and
Mm.
everything. So tell me how you were starting to tell me before how you got into Vivation and what was going on in your life.
So I was adopted at birth. So I had already had some birth trauma there,
Yeah.
like separation, all that. was adopted into a wonderful family, actually. My father was an exceptionally beautiful human. And growing up, I always felt that there was like something wrong with me. Like I always had something was off. I felt like this emotional pain and I struggled and with all sorts of things that my siblings didn't seem to have. And then I went to college and I was really getting into science and physics, and that was my focus. I was raised, my dad was an engineer, so I was really focused on working for the space program, and that was what I was going to do. And meanwhile, I just continued to have more emotional, like just stuff that just seemed to cripple me in terms of thriving in life. So I started getting into yoga and meditation, and then I discovered breath work. Long story, it was a specific type of Osho. If you've ever heard of Osho, there was a guy who wrote a book called Undoing Yourself with energized meditation. It involved this really profound type of breath work and body shaking, very similar to what Osho does. And I did that, and I was like, whoa, what was that? And then the Shavasana at the end of a yoga session, I remember my teacher, she would guide us through this deep breathing stuff. And for the first time in my life doing the breath work, I started to see a profound, obvious connection between the breath and feeling good in my body, like for the first time in my life. Years later, I'm in a bookstore, I come across this book, and it was in this sort of metaphysical or yoga session, meditation, and it was called Vivation, The Science of Enjoying All Your Life. You can see it was almost like the title was written for me, The Science, Enjoying All Your Life, and a weird word, vivation. Oh, okay, what is this? I pull it out. I open it up, 2-3 pages in, it's all about breathing, but it had all the beautiful language, just like all the stuff about enjoyment and breath and empowerment and freedom. And I was like, oh, wow, I got to buy this book. So I bought the book, read it through, tried a little bit on my own. And it's hard to learn this kind of stuff on your own. But I did some stuff, and I was able to get some occasional, like, spontaneous integration, resolution, release thing. And then I just kind of forgot about it, And then 10 years later, Kathy and I were coming home from work, and there was smoke all in our house.
Oh.
And I was like, Kathy, did you leave the crock pot on? I wasn't sure what was going on. There was so much smoke, we had to get down about 2 feet down on the ground. We were leaving prints in the thing. We realized that there's something very off. And it turns out that one of the rooms in the house was on fire or had burned itself out. We called 911. They came. They broke the windows. Unfortunately, that room got all the oxygen it needed. And then the next thing you know, the whole house is exploding.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not kidding. We're talking flames shooting up well over 100 feet.
Wow.
Whole neighborhood comes out 4 days before Christmas.
Oh.
By 11 o'clock, their house was mostly ash, and it was devastating. I mean, I had no idea. I was just caught up in the excitement and adrenaline of it. I'm going, wow, whoa. And then it hit us, how devastating it was. Just 5 or 6 days later, my father, quite a bit older than me, calls up and says, hey, son, I've been having these issues and stomach problems and things like that. Well, I just got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, which has pretty much a death sentence, 4% survival rate. I don't know how long I got, probably 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And then I go to my job. I've been working there for 7 years, and they said, hey, Paul, not just you, but all of you. I know you just lost your house and your dad. We're all letting you go. So we got a bunch of pink slips. So I lost my job of 7 years. My father was on his way out, and my house all in like a short. And my wife, Kathy's like, Vivation. I'm like, oh, yeah. I remember. I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to learn that. I go online. This is 23 years ago. I find the website. I see the 800 number. I pick up the phone. I'm calling the phone. Jim Leonard answers the phone.
Oh.
Immediately, I said, I want to learn. I want to do it. I want to go to your workshop in February. So he goes into sales mode. Oh, let me tell you all about it. Well, dude, I already know. I'm coming. Just tell me how much, and I'll be there. And so I did. I drove to LA and went through a 10-day full intensive retreat with a bunch of people. It was a teacher training, but it's also just for your own personal growth. And that's when I had the warm water session. This was the 4th day of the training. And this is what I do with everybody now. So that's how I got into it. And I came in skeptical. I mean, I was like, yeah, he's going on about every emotion's enjoyable. And he just told me, you think I'm full of you know what? I said, well, yeah. He goes, just don't even believe me. Don't believe anything I tell you. You don't have to take anything on faith. Just do it. Just breathe. Just feel. Just relax. The process will speak for itself.
Nice.
And I couldn't believe it, when I finally just surrendered to it and just trusted the experience and just trusted my body and just continued to work with the feelings and breathe through them. I started letting go of all of this heavy stuff that I couldn't believe it worked. I was blown away at how powerful and efficient it was, including the birth trauma stuff. So I was like, sign me up for this. I want to learn how to teach it. And so I ended up going through and I apprenticed with him for a long time. And then fast forward 8 years, he passes away and he's told me, hey, I'm dying of cancer himself. And he had taught thousands of people all over the world. And he said, you're the guy.
Oh,
You're the
nice.
one because you've worked with me. You know it better than anyone else. I trust you more than anyone else. So I want to give it to you. So I took over the mantle, as it were, the modality and the lineage of Vivation in 2008. And I've been teaching it full time pretty much since 2008.
What a gift.
So, yeah.
Actually, all of it, even the fire and everything that got you to where you are.
Yeah, right. I always say it took a fire, got the fire under my butt,
Lit
as
the
it were,
fire,
to kind of get me off my butt to do
Yeah.
something, right? So a lot of people that do end up coming to this work, that's usually something. There was a trigger moment or a catalyst of some kind that gets them to seek out the work.
And so you have an experience coming up in November?
Yeah, so November 3rd through the 7th, we have something called the Vivation Breakthrough Experience. It's our signature 4-day program. And I give people the absolute most powerful, impactful, wonderful transformational experience I can give them in 4 days, which includes warm water and cool water Vivation in beautiful Thermopolis. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's on the website if people were to go.
Yeah,
They
I'll link
can
your
check it out.
website. And what plans do you have for more in the future? Just staying around here and doing
Well, I love
more?
Wyoming. We came here for a lot of reasons. We love it here.
Did you?
We love where we live. We live in Hyattville, so we know most everybody there. And Thermopolis is just right there, 70 minutes away. And so it is sort of becoming sort of the Mecca, as it were. It's the oasis in the middle of the country. It's the largest natural hot spring in North America. And this work is really just flows with the whole hot springs thing. And so as I'm moving forward, I'm going to be doing more of these breakthrough experiences. Starting probably every couple of months, I'll be doing a retreat there.
Every couple
And
months.
just every couple of months. And then it's just depending on demand, maybe once a month at some point.
That is so cool.
And of course, I do one-on-one work with people, and I also travel to people if they want me to travel.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Love that. Get some travel.
I'm also doing a teacher training, so it's interesting because the breakthrough experience is the first 4 days, and then the next 8 days for those that want to become teachers, that's included.
Well, that's a lot for you.
Yeah, so it works out to overlap. I like, well, the first 4 days of a teacher training is the breakthrough experience.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are just going to come for that, but some are staying on to go through the whole teacher training certification program.
Wow.
So that's happening concurrently.
Luckily, it's like doing the work when you're training and teaching that you're, because I know from putting on retreats and things like that, I'm worn out, afterwards. And because you put out so much energy into it. And
and I'm introverted. So it's interesting. People meet me and I'm up on stage, let's say, and I'm talking in front of 300 people and I'm, and I love to talk about it. So I come out, I'm very, just, joy and having fun and doing this stuff. And when I do the trainings, I love it. It's like my life's work. And then I'll drop in, oh yeah, by the way, I'm introverted. And they're like, what? And I go, well, you don't understand. Like as soon as the training goes over, I'm,
go home and
crawl
in the.
And I love to show up 100% for these trainings. But I am ultimately introverted, and it can be quite draining, even when it's enjoyable. Yeah.
Well, I'm so grateful for you coming here and beautiful day. And I'll link your vivation.com.
Right, that's correct.
Yeah, and people can sign up for the upcoming experience in Thermopolis and for the teacher training, which is very tempting. And maybe we can have you here for a session.
Yeah, I love to do what I call taster or teaser sessions. They're 90 minutes to 2 hours long.
Wow.
For a 2-hour experience, I walk.
For a group?
Yeah.
Nice.
And that way people, because it's kind of like, well, how do I even know what this is? So I always do an introductory experience where I teach some of the basics, and then I guide people through an hour-long session, and then I do a Q&A after. And that way people can have an actual experience of it. So
that's going to happen. But
yeah, this is a beautiful location. I'd
all
love to do
right.
it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
for sure.
And
Very welcome. Thank you for having
grateful.
me.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. Namaste.